welcome to the regularly scheduled May 2024 meeting of the Board of Adjustment for Buncombe County. Welcome to all parties. Welcome to the public. I'm going to call to order and we'll welcome members of the board first and introduce us, starting with Joel, then we'll go around to staff as well.
And Joel Mazellis.
Craig Allen.
Gabe Quisenberry.
Andy Ball.
David Weinstein.
Jeff Gildenboth.
Dana Alley.
Savannah Glantz.
Kurt Euler.
Griffin Kearns.
Thank you all. Any announcements from staff this morning?
No. Oh.
Not from Kurt. Kurt has nothing for us. Kurt's got nothing.
Just one general announcement. We have been hearing from the county management office that there have been some folks who have been knocking on their door asking for parking validation stickers after the meeting. We would ask that unless you have business with the county management office, please do not ask them for parking stickers. Thank you.
Moving on to approval of meeting minutes. We do have meeting minutes from last month to consider that were emailed out to the board and they're online. Questions, comments, modifications, or motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve the minutes from April. Second on that? Second. Hearing a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? That passes. Thank you. Moving to disclosure of ex parte communications or conflicts of interest. We'll go around and have the board identify whether they've had any contact with any members of the public or anybody else about any of the cases before us today or have any conflict related to that. To be clear, a member of any board exercising quasi-judicial functions pursuant to this chapter shall not participate in or vote on any quasi-judicial matter in a manner that would violate affected person's constitutional rights to an impartial decision maker. Impermissible violations of due process include, but are not limited to, a member having a fixed opinion prior to hearing the matter that is not susceptible to change, undisclosed ex parte communications, a close familial, business, or other associational relationship with an affected person, or a financial interest in the outcome of the matter. And we'll start with Joel again on this. Thank you.
No.
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 Okay, we're clear there. Moving to our public hearing section, we will start by reminding everybody this is a quasi-judicial evidentiary hearing, and that means similar to a court hearing. State law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how this board must make its decisions. The board's discretion is limited. We must base our decision upon competent, relevant, and substantial evidence in the record. Our decisions must be constrained by the standards in the zoning ordinance and based on the facts presented. If you'll be speaking as a witness today, please focus on the facts and standards and not personal preference or opinion. Those offering expert testimony in the areas of traffic, property value, et cetera, need to bring or have expert witness testimony provided here. Those include projections about impacts on property values and projections about impacts of increased traffic. Individuals providing expert opinion testimony must be qualified as experts and provide the factual evidence upon which they base their expert opinion. And now we'll move to ZPH 2023-00037, the Central Park Special Use Permit. We are continuing this, we're bringing up this case again from a continuance last month in the month of April. And at this time, I'll introduce Mr. Knorr. There's Justice as well, yeah. How are you? Great, good. Tag team, that's right.
Could you also just make sure that your microphone's on? Sorry, I should have checked on that earlier. Thank you.
How about now? There we go. Okay. We saw a couple new faces, I think, this month compared to last month when we started, and we wanted to make sure those board members who were not present were able to review the recording of that testimony in preparation for today.
That's been sent around as well.
Okay. I'm seeing all heads nodding yes for the recording purposes. All right. And I think with that, we'll go ahead and just to orient everyone here as we've thrown up the development site plan on the screen. Please let us know if you can't see that. But we'd proceed at this point, unless there's any questions from the board, As you'll recall, last month you heard from our civil engineer Gary Davis about the construction and site plan aspects of the project. We will finish up today with testimony from a traffic engineer, Colin Kenton, as well as our appraiser, John Palmer, and then finally with some factual information from the applicant, Mr. Ambach. And without any further, we'll ask Colin to come up, please.
All right. Please raise your right hand and state your name.
Samuel Colin Kenton.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kenton. Can you please give the board some background on your professional experience and why you're here today?
Yes, I've been a registered engineer for almost 30 years. I've been practicing in traffic engineering for 32 years in both Tennessee, South Carolina, and North Carolina.
Did you prepare an affidavit in support of your testimony today?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I'm showing what's been marked here as Exhibit 4. Is this the affidavit you prepared along with your CV and the traffic impact analysis you performed on the project?
Yes.
And is it roughly, let's say, 131 pages, give or take?
Roughly, yes.
Okay. I think you indicated that you've been doing this for roughly, was it 40 years at this point?
32 years.
32 years. Do you have any degrees in engineering?
Oh, yeah.
Any degrees in engineering or other certifications that would be relevant to your expertise?
I have a degree in civil engineering from the University of Tennessee and a master's in engineering from University of Tennessee.
Okay. And is this your CV that's marked as Exhibit 1 to the affidavit?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever been qualified as an expert in traffic engineering in front of any governmental bodies, boards, or courts?
Yes, I have been previously qualified in front of this board.
Okay. How many times approximately do you think you?
At least twice previously.
And in preparation for your testimony today, did you review the application and associated documents that were submitted, site plan, et cetera, and perform an analysis related to that?
Yes, we performed a traffic impact study for the proposed development.
And is that what's marked as Exhibit, I should say, 3, as shown on the screen here?
Yes.
Okay. As part of, at this point, we would ask that Mr. Kenton be qualified as an expert in the areas of traffic engineering based on his training experience and certifications.
Hearing no objections, so tendered.
And we'd ask that, I will go ahead, Craig, if you don't mind holding that. Just hand up. You all have copies of this as part of your packet. I want to make sure if you don't have it in front of you, this is going to be the affidavit, all of the information.
Let's put one up here, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'll take one, yeah.
From the website.
Okay, Mr. Kenton, could you walk the board through the analysis that you performed on the project development site related to transportation and its impacts?
Yes. So our process, initially we meet with North Carolina Department of Transportation and establish a scope that is approved by NCDOT. And once we have an approved scope, then we begin our study. The scope that was approved by NCDOT included the analysis of the 3 proposed access locations and of the intersection of Mills Gap and Weston Road. We collected AM and PM peak hour traffic data for the intersection of Weston Road and Mills Gap. we projected the future volumes for that intersection, which was a year 2025 build analysis. So we completed an existing analysis of the study intersection and site driveways, a no-build analysis, and a build analysis for year 2025.
Okay. And is this the scoping document you were referring to that's included as part of that document or your packet here from NCDOT?
Yes.
Okay. And based on that work, what were the results that came out of your analysis after approved by DOT for scope?
The results of the analysis indicated that there would be no significant impact to the intersection of Mills Gap and Weston Road or at the proposed site driveways.
Okay. Were there any mitigation criteria asked by or proposed by DOT as a result of your analysis?
No, there were not.
Okay. Was there any, in your professional opinion, that needed to be added in order to address the traffic volumes or impacts from the proposed development?
No.
Okay. As a result of that, did DOT approve the planned configurations as you submitted them?
Yes. We submitted, where the driveway locations would be, the driveway width and stem length of the driveway, and they were subsequently approved by NCDOT.
Is this, as Exhibit 2, an example of that, that sign-off from DOT?
Yes.
Okay. And that's included in your report as well, correct?
Correct.
Those would be my questions for Mr. Kenton at this point, unless the board has questions.
Thank you. Board questions for Mr. Kenton?
On access, site access B, under the table 9, it says that the minimum site distance is not met, and therefore you have to remove the vegetation.
Correct.
And that's I guess a recommendation. Is that something that's being done?
That would be recommended to be completed with the driveway and site clearing.
And what's the process to keep it maintained 5 years out?
I think we'd be happy for that to be a condition as part of the SUP, that it be maintained consistent with DOT's recommendation
Great.
for site distances on the vegetation.
Thank you.
Joel?
Yeah, I noticed in the plan there, you're gonna have turning lanes and, for the ingress and egress. Would there be any turning lanes on Mills Gap?
No.
We'll give it a minute. We're looking through documents. Everyone had a chance to look at this and have any questions?
I do have one follow-up.
Please.
And I could go ahead and ask that in case the board members need any additional time. Mr. Kenton, I think in your affidavit here, if they could pull that back up on the screen. Well, we had it on the screen. But if you look at the first page, or it'd be the second page of the affidavit packet that I handed you, there were statements under paragraph 10A and B. I'm happy to hand you a copy. In your affidavit, you indicated that the project will not adversely affect the health or safety of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of the proposed development from a traffic engineering perspective, and will provide satisfactory ingress and egress for the proposed development, and particular attention has been paid to the automotive and pedestrian safety, convenience, traffic flow, and control. Is that still your opinion about the impacts of the development as of your testimony today?
Yes, it is.
Okay, any further questions from the board? I think we're all set on this one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ken.
All right, thank you.
And I don't know if it's staff in the tech room, that we had the streaming going on to the video out here, but it seems to have dropped off. There we go. Thank you. This time we'd ask John Palmer to come forward.
Please raise your right hand and state your name.
John C. Palmer.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Palmer, could you summarize your professional background for the board?
I'm a state certified North Carolina realtor. Excuse me. I'm a realtor, but I'm also an appraiser. I'm licensed in Virginia and I'm licensed in South Carolina. I've been an appraiser for approximately 20 years. I've been a realtor for about 43 years in North Carolina.
And I've shown up on the screen what is marked as Exhibit 5. Is this your affidavit related to your analysis of the project that's before the board today?
Yes.
Okay. At this point, we'd ask that be admitted into the record.
Hearing no objections, so tendered.
John, could you talk a little bit more about your professional qualifications and your certification as an expert in front of this body in particular?
Yes. I've been like I say, I've been an appraiser for approximately 20 years. I'm a designated MAI for the Appraisal Institute. I'm also a designated CCIM through the National Association of Realtors. I hold an additional certification designation from Appraisal Institute for a review designation. I've appraised all different types of properties in 3 states. I've done an awful lot of litigation, expert witness work. I've appeared before this board probably 6 or 7 times. I've been qualified Superior Court, District Court, across different types of boards and across the state of North Carolina and Virginia.
And did you do a sort of an appraisal analysis related to the proposed development for the purposes of your testimony today?
Yes, I did an impact study, basically.
And is that included within your affidavit as well,
Yes,
along with your resume and other credentials?
yes.
At this point, we'd ask that Mr. Palmer be qualified as an expert in the area of land valuation and appraisal.
Hearing no objections, so tendered.
Mr. Palmer, do you mind walking the board through the analysis that you performed, the impact study, so they can understand what your opinion about the impact of the development is for the purposes of their work?
Yes, they supplied me with the plans and with specifications we had, which I went through and studied. Then I developed a technique for looking at other properties that were similar. In this case, there's a mix of townhomes and single-family dwellings that are proposed. So I looked in the market to see if I could find similar type developments, which I was able to find several. They either had a mix or they were townhomes, or I think there's one that's all single-family. From there, I looked at the surrounding properties with a focus on actually the abutting or adjoining properties to see if I could determine an impact for those developments specifically for the type of comparable I was looking at. And that's what I have in this report here. There were probably another 10 or so that I looked at, but there wasn't anything that I could determine would have an impact on the value.
And so, if I heard you correctly, your analysis, the result of your analysis was that the proposed use would not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to property in the neighborhood of the
Yes.
proposed development?
Yes.
Okay. I think you had that in your affidavit. That's still your opinion as the impact of the proposed development as of your testimony today?
Yes.
Okay. We're happy to go into more of the details surrounding Mr. Palmer's analysis, if the board would like. But at this point, I'll leave it at that unless the board members have specific questions about the impact analysis.
Leave it over for a couple minutes, have board members sift through some of this data. See if we have any questions.
Excuse me.
Or have any questions? Mr. Palmer? I think we're all set. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer.
All right, I think we're down to our last witness, Mark, who's on the screen here. I guess he needs to be sworn in.
I've got my hand up if necessary.
Please raise your right hand and state your name.
Mark Amback?
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So, Mark, I may not be in your view shed. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and I want to thank everyone for allowing me to attend via Zoom. This is very accommodating. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
So, Mark, like the previous witnesses, you also had provided or prepared a written statement for submission in the record, correct?
Yes, I did.
All right. And we're going to identify that as exhibit number 3. And on the Zoom call, can they see the screen? Yeah, sure. And in your written statement, Mark, I believe you've provided some additional facts and opinions from your experiences as a developer. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about some of your experiences and then dovetail back to how you correlate to this project.
Okay. I've been in the real estate development business of residential and multifamily for over 30 years. I've been responsible for development of over 2,000 multifamily units and overseeing more than 7,000 units. I'm currently developing the Creekside community in Arden. I handle a wide responsibility of the project as they go, site selection, hiring experts to work on the development, working with consultants to obtain entitlements, procuring vision of the project, working with consultants to determine project design, securing financing, working with consultants to procure project permits, and local governments to go through their specific requirements and working on the construction and property management of companies. I'm very familiar with the Central Park project, which permit request is before you right now. We've worked on a market analysis for the project, and based on the study, it's determined that there's a significant need for housing in the local community. It's the desire of us to develop this community in a way that provides different type housing options that's environmentally friendly. We plan to provide cluster development in the 2 upland areas of development and maintaining the 20-acre conservation easement established through the middle of the project. The townhouse community will feature a community amenity with a dog park, gazebo, tot lot, grilling areas, and gathering areas for the benefits of the residents and their guests. Landscape recreation area is proposed on the southern portion of the site plan and shown in a rectangular yellow color. The master plan offers an intimate family single-family community in a separate area off Weston Road. Construction is intended to begin in early 2025. It's intended to open in phases, delivering units for construction and ongoing to completion. It is the intent to develop, it is our intent to develop this property, is intended to be maintain the common areas and recreational areas and street and utilities through a homeowners association. In some cases, maintenance can be self-performed, or others that will be paid by third party. I've reviewed the standards for a special use permit, section 78-677G of the county zoning ordinance, and based upon my review of the project, including supporting materials submitted for the record and many years of experience as a developer, I'm in the opinion the project complies with the conditions of the special permit required by Buncombe County, and more particularly described. The proposed use will not adversely affect the health and safety of persons residing or working in the neighborhood for the proposed use. Proposed use will not be detrimental to the welfare of the public and welfare or injurious to the property or public improvements in the neighborhood. The proposed use will not cause or have adverse effects for surrounding properties due to noise, vibration, odor, or glare. Satisfactory ingress and egress for the proposed use of the property and proposed structures have been provided. Particular attention has been paid for automotive and pedestrian safety, convenience, low traffic flow, and control. Provision of all-street parking and loading areas were required with particular attention to these items in section 78-658 throughout the multifamily area. Provisions of adequate and proper utilities with reference to locations and availability and compatibility. Buffering will be referenced to type, location, dimensions, signs, if any, and proposed exterior lightings with reference to glare, traffic safety, economic effect, and compatibility and harmony will with properties in this district. Playgrounds, open spaces, yards, landscaping, access ways, and pedestrian ways with reference to location, size, and suitability. Building and structures with reference to location, size, and use, and hours of operation with particular reference to protecting and maintaining the character of the neighborhood.
Well, Mark, that was a mouthful. So appreciate that summation. Your written report does provide specific facts to address each of the standards you just described, correct?
Yes.
And of course, we are relying upon the previous witnesses that have already testified. Mr. Chairman, we'd like to introduce his affidavit into the record.
Okay, so admitted.
Mark, you heard one of the board members ask a very fair question about adding as a condition of the development permit that you maintained the sight line distances as recommended by the Department of Transportation in their written recommendations to the traffic engineer. Are you okay with that condition?
Yes, we are.
All right. Those are the questions I have.
Okay, thank you. Board thoughts or comments or questions?
I'm assuming you've met with the adjacent community and homeowner association?
We have numerous times and continue our open conversations. Absolutely.
Anything else? I think we're all set. Thank you.
Thank
That
you.
concludes our witnesses and information. There's, to your question about neighbors, there's a lot of built-in benefits associated with this project as in terms of extension of public utilities, particularly sewer, will provide people in the surrounding community some opportunity to get off private septic systems and to hook up to public systems. That is a huge benefit for them and the environment. So that's just one of the many benefits that this project will have outside of the confines of its development.
All right. Other board comments or questions at this point?
It is built into our application, which I believe the county will more than likely hold us to that, because that's what we're saying we're going to do. So yes, ma'am.
Is there sizing for those amenities provided in the plan here? I'm looking at it. Or is it just kind of a general area?
Mark, is there any particular sizing when you describe, for example, a tot lot or
Or a
Yeah,
dog
there,
park or?
there has been sketches done, and we're waiting to get the final design finished before we actually put in, but we've sized them so they fit within the recreational area that's supplied and shown on the plan. Absolutely.
Members on the screen here, that yellow area is the amenity area indicated on the home.
Okay.
Could you show us where on that map the easement is for the leaching field that the neighbors are concerned about?
yeah, it's in the single family section. Basically, the proposal there is currently a septic easement to serve adjoining property that would take up potentially one unit. The plan is to extend sewer so that they can hook into public sewer to eliminate the need for that septic field. So I think that's part of what we have said in our application before. Mark, do you want to provide any additional information about that septic field?
Yeah, so you can hear me. Yeah, the septic field is located in the single family area about where the second home from the end of the cul-de-sac is. And if for some reason the neighbors did not want to hook into the public sewer that we're going to provide, they would still have that there. That would be theirs. There'd be one less unit. If they want, as we've discussed, we would hook them in, and they would be tied into gravity sewer there. Then we would remove the septic field and remove the easement, and that's what our discussions have been up to this point.
Who bears the cost for the neighbors hookup to the public sewer?
We do. We've agreed they will not have to pay to hook into that we will pay to hook into that. We'll provide the connection at the property line and remove the septic field, and the connection fees that are applied we will be taking care of.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you very much. We'll excuse this witness and thank them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Before we move to a closing statement, let's ask if there's any members of the public here to speak on this matter as a witness.
So we did receive the one standing application that was heard at the prior hearing from James Fox. Is James Fox in attendance today?
I can't see behind the screen, so is Mr. Fox here?
No.
No, okay. All right. Anyone else here? I can't see a show of hands either, so if you stand up, if you're here to speak as a witness.
The other applications we received one from Douglas Sams.
Okay, Douglas Sams. Going twice? Okay.
And the last one that we received was Jeff Leenan.
Mr. Leenan? Okay, thank you. Yes, sir. Please do. If you'll move to the microphone, that would be great. We'll briefly sure. Yeah, we'll briefly swear you in. Yeah.
Concerning the septic.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
We'll swear you in.
Who
All right.
am I talking?
So please raise your right hand and state your name.
Robert Christensen.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir. You may go ahead.
My question was concerning the hookup it's for Mr. Almsbach. I see he's on the screen around there. We couldn't see him from back there. But Is there a time frame or a time limit for making the decision to hook into the sewer? That's my question.
Sure, yeah. We'll forward it to them, and then at the end of all the statements from the witnesses, we'll have them respond in full at that time. It's less of a Q&A and more of a comment period.
Well,
So we'll take your
you asked if there was a question earlier, and I was trying to get my question in, but you shot past me. That's why I'm not a witness. I'm just asking a question.
I understand.
On a previous.
This is your opportunity to make a statement, so you've made that as a formal question, that's fine, but they'll have an opportunity in a minute after you sit down to be able to respond. Is that the extent of the question, though? That covers it? I guess so. Anybody else here speak as witness? Going twice, going 3 times. Thank you. And a closing statement or anything else you want to respond, of course, to?
Mark, if you'll respond to the gentleman's question, I know the discussions have been with an association representative, so you're not dealing with potentially 15 cooks in a kitchen to the topic, but if you would just address his question about sort of the time frame for the decision-making on whether or not there will be a connection or the septic field will remain as is.
Yes, I'll be glad to answer that. The idea that we've had many conversations with the association, and I believe the association is ready to get together next month or at the end of this month. And then we would go ahead and sit down as we're getting our engineering plans done and ask that they tell us which way they want to go so we can incorporate it into the engineering plans, which will take, an extended period of time, say 4 months to get approved or something along those lines. So while we're doing this, if you decided to change your mind or something, or we can go forward knowing this earlier on would be better. But if not, during the time we're going through the engineering design period would be the best time to have it done.
So in a nutshell, I do think that any person owning property within the villa's next door property needs to communicate their desires through their representatives with the association so that that board would be able to communicate what the message is. Obviously, if the association didn't want to move forward and you had one person saying I do, then that would be a conflict within their community. So I would recommend the gentleman talk to his representatives so that a clear message can be given.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
A quick clarification, is this an active leaching field or a repair field for a septic system?
It's actually a septic field that serves the 8 units of the Fairway Villas community up there.
So there would be a timing and coordination involved on your part for the hookup of the gray water and then eventually for the solids.
Right, we would take it so their use would not be interrupted, obviously. Yes,
And obviously the state would be overseeing that.
yes.
Right. Other board comments, questions for the applicant before we ask them to close? All right. Thank you all. Have any final thoughts or closing at all?
Nothing other than to say thank you to the board members for considering all the materials, and we're happy to answer any final questions you might have.
Okay. Does the board have anything before we close the public hearing? Hearing no questions, public hearing is closed, open for board deliberations, discussion, and a motion. Yeah, it seems to me that require. Yeah, the microphone, yeah, maybe turn those on for deliberation.
I said if there's no opposition to it from the public, I'd like to just move forward.
I think it does meet the criteria we're looking for in a project like this.
They've done a good job presenting it, they really have. Covered the bases,
Yep, check the boxes.
so long as they take care of maintaining the greenery, sightline.
Other thoughts, comments?
I'm good to move forward with it.
Okay,
No, I agree, I concur.
sounds good. I think we're ready.
Me to
For a
move.
motion, yeah. Mhm.
Mr. Chair, based upon the evidence presented to this board, including the following exhibits, the petitioner's application, the submitted development plan, the GIS maps, the staff report, testimony presented at the hearing, including the testimony from expert witnesses, I move that this board adopt the following findings of fact: that this matter was properly advertised, is within this board's jurisdiction, and is ripe for its consideration.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I will start with Mr. Mazelis on yea or nay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
that motion passes. Is there a second motion?
You want me to do that one too?
Whoever has it right there can go forward with it.
Mr. Chairman, based upon the findings of fact and for the reasons set forth, I move that the requested special use permit be approved and that the order approving the permit be adopted and executed as presented and modified in this meeting. And I'm not sure it was modified.
Include in that motion the condition that the applicant shall be required to maintain the vegetation to ensure that the DOT site distances are met at the entrances.
I so move.
Well, it's technically maintain the sight line, which may require you to eliminate the vegetation.
And possibly grade, yeah.
Maintain the sight line, the DOT sight line.
Yeah, comply with the DOT recommendation regarding sight line distance.
Well, you are maintaining the vegetation, whether it's there or not. Maintaining the fact that it isn't there or maintaining the fact that it's low.
But he's saying they may also clear it and grade it,
Great.
which is not really maintaining it, so, yeah. They maintain the sight line.
Maintain that suggests its continued existence versus removal to maintain the sight line, which is the key.
No matter what I do, I keep on having weeds grow up where I don't want them. So whatever words you use to say that the sight line will be clear, that's great with me.
How about we say this, the applicant shall comply with the DOT recommendation to maintain all sightline distances, including but not limited to removing vegetation if
Great.
necessary.
Yeah.
That work? All right.
There is a motion to approve. Is there a second? Hearing a motion and a second, we'll start with Mr. Mazelis on a yea or nay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
that motion passes. We have an approved SUP here. We'll have staff come up next and present an order for consideration by the board.
I am ready to do that if you would like to do that now.
Wonderful.
Is this one of yours, John? Huh? Oh, okay. I'm gonna move it? That's fine. All right. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have the findings of fact that this matter was properly noticed and the board has jurisdiction. That this application is for a level 1 plan unit development for a residential development on tax lot on 2 pins, 445 Mills Gap Road, and an unaddressed parcel just northeast. That the property is located in R2 residential zoning district, that the applicant and other parties withstanding were given opportunity to be heard, and that pursuant to the zoning ordinance, the board finds the following regarding the special use application. The PUD standards that the land within the PUD will be under single ownership management before final approval, that the density is consistent with the intent of the district for which the project is located and conforms to that district in which the development is located. The land uses are compatible and do not violate the intent of the zoning district and do not disrupt the character of the community. The proposed land use meets the minimum requirements for land use development as follows. The minimum lot size and requirements for interior setbacks do preserve the spirit and intent of this section and does comply with the density requirements for the zoning district. The proposed heights as set forth in the application does comply with the spirit and intent of this section. With the total development plan, where building heights, I don't believe there's any variance, so that would not be applicable. Am I correct on that? Okay. All right. The board finds that the minimum distance between buildings will ensure adequate air, light, privacy, and space for emergency vehicles, that the development does provide reasonable visual and acoustical privacy for dwelling units. Fences, insulation, walks, barriers, landscaping will be used for the protection and aesthetic enhancement of the property and the privacy of the occupants. The structures located on the perimeter of the development will be set back from property lines and right-of-way of abutting streets in accordance with the provision of the controlling zoning district. The board finds that the proposed parking does comply with the spirit and intent of this section. The board finds that the conveyance and maintenance of open space, recreational areas, and community-owned facilities are in accordance with the Unit Ownership Act and or other appropriate mechanisms. The board finds that the building envelopes are shown in the submitted site plans and depict a maximum expanse of the proposed footprint of the structure. Pursuant to 78-677G of the zoning ordinance, the proposed use will not adversely affect the health or safety of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of the proposed use. The proposed use will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to property or public improvements in the neighborhood. The proposed use will not cause or have an adverse effect on surrounding properties due to noise, vibration, odor, or glare effects. Satisfactory ingress and egress for the proposed use of the property and proposed structures has been provided. Particular attention has been paid to automotive and pedestrian safety and the convenience, traffic flow, and control. Provisions of off-street parking and loading where required have been arranged for. Provisions for adequate proper utilities with reference to location, availability, and compatibility have been arranged for. Provisions for buffering, if deemed necessary, with reference to type, location, and dimensions have been arranged for. Signs, if any, and proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic, safety, economic effect, and compatibility are in harmony with the properties in the district. Playgrounds, open spaces, yards, landscaping, access ways, and pedestrian ways with reference to location, size, and suitability have been arranged for. Buildings and structure with reference to location, size, and use are acceptable. Hours of operation with particular reference to protecting and maintaining the character of the neighborhood are acceptable. The proposed following conditions are necessary to ensure that the proposed use will conform to the requirements of the Buncombe County zoning ordinance. Preliminary and as-built application shall be required prior to submittal of a final draft plat of this project. The final draft plat of this project must be reviewed and approved, and the plat must be recorded and lots platted with unique PIN numbers for each lot prior to the submittal of the master site plan permit. A DOT driveway permit is required. Floodplain development permit is required. No parking signs required to be installed on the side of the street containing the water main and the and they must meet all hydrant, the project must meet all hydrant spacing requirements. The project must be constructed as depicted on the site plan. Prior to commencement of land disturbance and construction activity, the applicant shall submit a site plan development permit for the entire project, including the following: the exact location of all buildings and accessory structures, a commercial lighting plan, the location and type of buffering for landscaping and parking lot landscaping, if required, information regarding retaining walls, demonstrating that the retaining walls meet the standards of the retaining wall ordinance, if required, the location and easement of right-of-ways on the property, and the approved E911 road names. The applicant shall comply with the DOT recommendation to maintain all site distances are met, including but not limited to removing vegetation if necessary. Any other conditions of site development approved by the Board of Adjustment, which there are none. A copy of all approved permits from the for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, NC DOT, and the NC Department of Environmental Quality were applicable. The master site plan permit shall not replace the requirement of pulling an individual site plan permit for each building or structure within the development. The applicant must agree to these conditions prior to commencing site work. So conclusions of law, based on the foregoing findings of fact, the board makes the following conclusions of law: that the applicant's request for a special use permit, together with the imposition of the conditions found necessary above, which are incorporated herein, meets each applicable requirement of the Buncombe County zoning ordinance. And the order, now therefore, based on the foregoing findings of fact and conclusions of law, the Buncombe County Board of Adjustment orders as follows: that the applicant is hereby granted a special use permit to establish a plan unit development on the property as requested, subject to the conditions referenced above, which are incorporated here in full. This May 8th, 2024.
We have an order presented for the board's consideration. Comments, questions, edits?
Motion to accept?
There's a motion to approve. Before we do that, we'll make sure we're okay with the applicant.
It's a minor typo.
Applicant
It's
site.
site, S-I-G-H-T.
GH,
Line, distances.
distances, all right. Thank you, Craig.
Thanks. There is a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? That passes. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
And we're moving to our next case on the agenda, Pine Brook Farms. This is ZPH 2024-00007. It is a variance. So for the board's consideration, when we get to that point, we'll need 6 out of 7 votes to approve. We have Planning Coordinator Thana Alley to present this matter.
Here with Mr. Bruce Alexander from Pine Brook Farms.
Welcome.
I'm not sure if Mr. Carpenter, Bo Carpenter is here representing the neighbor. This request is for a variance to actually less than a foot from the side setback on the lot.
We'll start. Yeah, we're going to start with the hearing in just a minute, but just have a seat if you will, and we can start after the coordinator, after planning department presents this to us. No, you're good. Welcome. Good to have you. We're resetting and adjusting, of course, here. In the meantime, if you want to make sure your microphone is pulled close and, on.
Yes. Can we have just a moment? I want to confer with Mr. Carpenter,
Sure,
if I may.
please. We're only an hour in, but do you all want to take 5 minutes? Okay, let's take 5 minutes. Thank you. Sorry, Dana.
State your name,
Dana Alley.
and do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Certify that this public hearing was properly noticed and all applicable parties were notified of the meeting in accordance with general statutes and county code. I ask that all applicant and staff materials be accepted into the record as evidence.
Hearing no objection, so accepted.
This is the review of ZPH 2024-0007 Pine Brook Farms Lot 15 variance. Applicant is Bruce Alexander of Pine Brook Farms LLC. Project is located on PIN 97324579963. The address is 48 Creekside Drive. Total acreage is 0.22 acres. Development is served by public water and sewer. Property is zoned R3 with no overlays present. This variance is to request a reduction of the side setback from 7 feet to 5.5 feet.
Questions from the board for staff on what's presented in the application or staff report?
I don't know if it's the appropriate question for staff, but have there been any variances issued for this development
I'm
regarding
not sure, I'll
setbacks?
defer to Savannah.
I'm not aware of any, but that's something I could look into quickly.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Not hearing any others, thank you very much. And Mr. Alexander, yeah?
If I can, so if
Yeah,
I can
please.
just I'll have Mr. Alexander come around and be sworn, but if I could just point out that I think, and his testimony will reflect this, that the requested variance is actually less than a foot. We had a survey done, and it's about .63 of a foot. So that, I mean, that's, we put in the application 1.5 feet, but it's about half that.
So 7 or 8 inches.
Yep.
Okay. All right, we'll swear him in.
Please raise your right hand and state your name.
Bruce Alexander,
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Before we get too far into questioning, I want to ask if there's any applications for standing here.
We're informed that the one application for standing that had been submitted in this case has been withdrawn.
Okay, wonderful. Anyone in the audience, I can't see it behind the TV, anyone in the audience wishing to start standing? Thank you very much. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Alexander, you are the president of Lifestyle Homes, is that right?
Yes,
And you own Lot 15 in, on 48 Creekview Drive in the Pine Brook subdivision, is that correct?
that's correct.
And you're here requesting the variance on behalf of Pine Brook Farms on the eastern side, or the western side of Lot 15, is that correct?
That's correct.
And can you explain to the Board of Adjustment how it came to be that the house was constructed inside the setback line?
We do neighborhoods for retirees. We have several neighborhoods where there are 5-foot side yard restrictions. The surveyor just got confused. That's the one we're doing the most building in. And he didn't do it. And secondarily, this lot had a lot of rock on it, so we moved it all the way to the left as far as we could. It's close to that size property line, and he just didn't get it right. And
The house is constructed, as you just said, right?
yes, sir.
And you have submitted a survey with your application, I believe, have you not?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to hand you a copy of that survey. I think all the members of the board have a copy of this survey. If they don't, I can pass it around. It's a survey done by Joseph Kane, house location exhibit of Lot 15 at Pine Brook Farms. Does anybody not have that?
On the website, if any of you are
It's in the list
looking
here.
at that.
Under what category, Griffin?
Give me one moment and I will see exactly where it is.
I think it's under exhibits
Hold
or
on, yeah,
plaintiffs.
pull it up again.
Supplemental?
Supplemental docs, yeah.
I'm going to hand this up to Mr. Alexander, if I may.
If you go to applicant supplemental exhibits, there should be that
Right.
and,
Got it.
yeah,
Thank you.
2 pages.
It says that, and basically it's, if you look at the the calculation, it says 6.37 is the actual distance from the northwestern corner of the house to the property line for Lot 14. The distance there is 6.37 feet, shown on the survey. It's pretty small, I apologize. I can pass this around if that would help.
Give us a minute to zoom in.
Sure, yeah.
It's easier to zoom in, so.
Yeah, let's zoom in.
Just for clarity's sake, the required setback is 10 feet?
Required setback is 7 feet.
Yeah, but on the survey, there's a noted 10-foot setback line.
And that's not correct, I apologize, but this was originally in the Weaverville ETJ. Then when the ETJ went away, it became, and Buncombe County adopted the zoning ordinance, it became a 7-foot setback.
So is this the original incorrect survey, or is this now the correct survey, but with the incorrect setback reference?
The second thing you said.
So we're to take this as an accurate survey, with the exception of the error in the 10-foot
The exception of that it's a 10-foot setback, that's correct. 7 feet.
And that,
We're at 6.37, correct.
and that's Buncombe County rules and not HOA.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
No HOA rules on setbacks, is that correct?
We don't see a survey indication of that.
Excuse me? I believe so in the restrictive covenants, yeah. Mhm. I don't,
No, I don't think so.
not on this survey, but
Yeah.
that hasn't, we believe the houses are far enough apart.
There was a second exhibit we prepared that shows many other instances in the neighborhood where the houses are a little closer together than this situation,
That,
or similar. So this doesn't like look abnormal. It fits into the scheme of the neighborhood, and
That goes to my question to staff earlier. In this development, are there any structures that are in violation of the 7-foot setback requirement by the county?
We're actually going to swear in Savannah to answer that question. So please raise your right hand and state your name.
Savannah Glantz.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So I wasn't able to locate any variance applications, so I don't believe that they would have been in violation of any setbacks, as this has not come up. The only thing I was able to locate was in 2017, there was a amendment to the existing development to revise the housing type and configuration. So at that point, it would have been a conditional use permit, what we now know as a special use permit. And it was on Craftsman View Drive, which is not this drive. And that was simply to, if I'll pull up the order real quick. It was just to allow the construction of 6 single-family homes, which were previously permitted as 8 residential units and 4 duplex.
So to the applicant's knowledge, there is no other case within this development where there is a structure that is within the 7-foot setback that's required by the county?
not to my knowledge.
Thank you.
So that would be the evidence for the applicant. That Craftsman View Drive that Ms. Glantz just mentioned is actually up above Creekview Drive. You can see it on one of the survey maps. And we believe that the application as submitted would satisfy the requirements for a variance, and that, you know, and I think the rock issue is an important one, and the fact that they had to move this building all the way to the right-hand side, to the left-hand side of the lot. And these houses, there were some photographs from the standing person, the neighbor, and we've worked things out with her, but, you know, the houses are pretty close together in this subdivision. They're not big lots, served by water and sewer. I mean, her lot is, lot 14 is 0.2 acres. This lot's 0.22 acres. So they're not big lots.
I'm interested in your further explanation of working things out, since there was a lot of material that was provided to us by Ms. King. What's the resolution?
The resolution is, and I would submit that they were not relevant to this request for variance, but the resolution essentially is there were some erosion issues on her property that arose during construction, and we've agreed to address those. And we've agreed to allow her to do some things, to have access to Lot 15 while she constructs some things on her property. And that's all. Mr. Carpenter and I were just drafting language out in the hall before this meeting, but, so we're in agreement. She had actually filed a lawsuit against Pine Brook Farms on April 30th. Unbeknownst, well, it has not been served, but it was filed, but we've agreed to resolve all that.
Thank you.
What is the slope on the right-hand side of the lot, on the eastern side of the lot?
On the eastern side of Lot 15,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let Mr. Alexander.
I don't know the exact slope. It's the road behind it, the Craftsman View that you referenced earlier is above it. So there is a 2-to-1 slope. There, it's probably not so steep because it's solid rock. On the right side of that lot is rock.
The Creekview Drive slopes uphill from 14 to 15. So there is some slope there?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is a spec home, or are you contracted for a custom build?
It's spec home.
Okay. And so on the right side of this lot, the hardship elements that are particular to this lot, would you say are what on the right-hand side of the lot?
I would say that there's so much rock there, it's almost impossible to build.
And that goes on for majority of that right side?
They moved it, the house site was moved as far to the east as possible, and mistakenly or whatever, the surveyor, we thought he was doing a 7-foot setback, but as you see, he's doing a 6.37-foot setback.
So present day, are we in ground on this? Are we shovels in?
Yeah, the house is built.
The house is built, we're constructed, okay.
Right.
Got it. Questions, thoughts?
Excuse me? Well, we knew the rock was there. We did the development 20 years ago. So we bypassed it 20 years ago, and we came back to these lots. We had 7 left in this neighborhood, and we came back to finish them.
Any issues with, I think there was a septic line that was in part of the conversation between the two properties? Any issues that we need to be aware of regarding that?
I don't believe so. I mean, there's a utility easement reserved along the side of each of the lots, and there is a building sewer for, I don't know what lot that is up there, Bruce, but there's a utility easement for, I think it's Tebben Camp,
Right.
at least on this map, that their sewer comes down and hits the sewer in Creekview Drive. But Ms. Queen is aware of that, and her lawyer's aware of that. We made them aware of that. And they, the homeowners association are in control of this now. So she would have to get approval from the homeowners association for anything that she does. And she has assured us that she has or will do that.
Other board comments, questions? Hearing none, I think we're all set with this witness. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all we would have for the applicant.
Okay. Next, we will ask if there's any members of the public here to speak as a witness. Any witnesses today to speak? Okay. Hearing none, any closing remarks or other thoughts from the applicant?
Well, I just believe that based on the testimony we provided, that this would satisfy the requirements for variance and would ask that the board grant a variance allowing the setback, in this case, to be 6.37 feet on the west side of Lot 15. Would grant that variance.
Okay, any final opportunity for board comments or questions for the applicant before we close the public hearing? And hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Open up for board comments, deliberation, and a motion.
My comments would be if the neighbor, Ms. Queen's issues have been resolved, I'm supportive of the variance. I think that was the primary issues that I brought into this meeting.
And they have, we have a variance threshold, of course, for the various items we need to identify as a hardship related to this property that's unique to this property and not others in the area. And I think they've adequately detailed those with the slope and the rock issue and all of that. So I'm comfortable with this.
And
Please.
on the supplemental exhibit, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other houses, looks like, with fewer feet in between than this one is asking for. This one's 26.37 requirement, and there's a whole bunch of other ones that are closer together, so I have no objection.
Yeah, they are also on the smaller side of asking for an allowance here with a 7-foot requirement and a 6.3 feet or 6.4 feet reduction there, so.
I think we can all see a half a foot error one way or another. And that's why this board exists, so, yeah, I'm fine with it.
That is correct, staff, right? We're going from 7 feet to 6.37. Yeah,
We think it's
so it's less, it's
7.5
about a half
inches,
foot.
8 inches maybe. Less than a foot.
Yeah, less than a foot, yeah. Okay. Other thoughts, comments? And if not, we can entertain a motion.
So, Mr. Chair, based upon the evidence presented to this board, including the following exhibits, the petitioner's application, the submitted development plan, the GIS maps, the staff report, testimony presented at the hearing, and no additionals, I move that this board adopt the following findings of fact: that this matter was properly advertised, is within this board's jurisdiction, and is ripe for its consideration. That this application, together with the conditions proposed by staff and/or this board, and agreed to by the applicant, if any, does meet the requirements for granting a special use permit contained in Buncombe County Code of Ordinance, Section 78-21, subparagraph 3.
There is a motion. Is there a?
Yes, that makes a lot more sense.
Let's grant a variance.
Thank
I
you,
like
Mr.
this
Yule.
guy.
It's a good idea there.
We would like the variance, thank you.
There is that motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, we'll start with Mr. Mazelis on a yea or nay.
Yes.
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 That motion passes. Is there another motion?
Based on the foregoing findings of fact and the reasons set forth therein, I move that the requested variance be approved and that the order approving the permit be adopted and executed as presented and as modified in this meeting.
There's been an approval motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, we'll start with Joel again on yea or nay.
Yes.
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 That motion does pass. Thank you very much. We have an approved variance. We will ask staff to approach and to review an order for this case.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, I present you the following proposed order. That this hearing was held on the 8th, continued from April 10th. I believe that was the date. Yes, April 10th, for a variance to increase the building width for a house on Pin at 48 Creekside Drive. The property is owned by Pine Brook Farms LLC, and Mr. Bruce Alexander is the applicant. Basically, you've stated what was considered, that the board has jurisdiction, and this matter is ripe for consideration. All notices have been sent, that the applicant has applied for a variance to reduce the side setback for a single-family home from 7 feet to 6.37 feet on tax law at 48 Creekside View Drive. At the hearing, the applicant and anyone withstanding was given opportunity to present evidence that the unnecessary hardship would result from a strict application of the zoning ordinance of Buncombe County, that the hardship does result from conditions that are particular to the property, that the hardship did not result from actions taken by the applicant or the property owner, and that the requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance, and that such public safety is secured and substantial justice would be achieved by granting the same. The board did not have any conditions, so based on the foregoing findings of fact, the board makes the following conclusions of law: that the application, together with any conditions of which there are none, satisfies the requirements for granting a zoning ordinance contained in the zoning ordinance, and that the order, based on the foregoing findings of fact and conclusions of law, the Board of Adjustment finds that the applicant's request for a variance is granted as requested in the application. This, the 8th day of May, 2024.
Thank you very much. Any board questions or clarifications on this order?
I move we approve the order.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? That passes. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you all very much.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Any further matters from staff today? Any further matters from the board today? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There's a motion to adjourn and a second. All those in favor, please get up.
Aye.